If success is envisaged, then it is not worth the title. Hello die-hard viewers of Managing Africa, you're welcome to yet another amazing edition of the program. Today we will be meeting with someone that the African Union found worthy to appoint as the Youth Ambassador for Peace in the whole of Central Africa. He is also the Executive Director of Local Youth Corner, Cameroon. Ladies and gentlemen, he is no other than Christian Achaleke.
I was born in Fiango Kumba in Cameroon. I was a victim of violence and radicalization from my early age. I witnessed firsthand how economic deprivation and lack of trust pushed young people, my peers, into crime and violence. I was full of hate and had no interest in reconciliation. This is the devastating reality of the prison system in my country. Due to lack of adequate rehabilitation and reintegration programs, an incredible opportunity to help inmates change their life is being missed.
Cameroon Achievers categorized him among the under-14 in 2020. He was also grouped amongst the most influential young Africans in the same year by the African Youth Awards. He is the Executive Director of Local Youth Corner, Cameroon, one of the leading civil society organizations in the country. He is an international development, peace building and violent extremist expert with 15 years of experience working as a practitioner, researcher, and in academics. One of his current projects at the moment is the Nawiwi Sports Jamboree, a sporting event to foster social cohesion between internally displaced persons and host communities. The Nawiwi Sports Jamboree has as theme, "We play together, we be glad together." The event is going to feature activities like dancing, handball, basketball, and football. The event begins from July 9 to August 27, 2022 at the Lycée Polyvalent Bonaberi in Douala, the littoral region of Cameroon. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet with the international development expert, Christian Achaleke, and I am pleased to let you know that recently he was appointed by the African Union as the African Union's Youth Ambassador for Peace in Central Africa. It is a pleasure to have you on board Managing Africa today.
Thank you very much, Nadine, for having me, and finally we're here.
Yes. Now tell us about your role as the Ambassador for Youth for Peace. The Youth Ambassador for Peace.
Oh, yeah. Basically my background in work, it's in diplomacy and at the same time in international development and working at different levels of work from community to national to global. And within the African Union, they have what they call the Peace and Security Council, which is one of the biggest organs because it reflects on peace and security issues across the continent. And globally, there has been this conversation of having young people to be able to champion conversation on peace and security because issues of security and conflict really affects young people, and there's the need to have those who could help change the perspective of young people seen as problems to young people seen as solution providers. So within the African Union Peace and Security Council, the develop a program to be able to appoint key young people from the continent representing each region. The AU has 5 regions, Central, Eastern, and Southern, and Western Africa, and Northern Africa. So, and go through this process of identifying based on the work you've done, your experience, your mastery of the conversation, and then you have an official appointment that comes from the heads of states of Africa. So it goes through a whole process. And I was given the opportunity to lead the Central African region. And by this, I have 11 countries under my leadership, where I have the mandate to advise the African Union. I have the mandate to work with young people, to work with heads of state and countries to be able to shape this perspective. Last week I was in Burundi with the president of Burundi, and which was still against this backdrop. So we are 5 of us across Africa.
And I am curious because recently we saw you in Burundi, but what was your mission?
Part of our work is supporting the African Union in the Peace and Security Council session. So every month they have this meeting. It goes virtually, it goes physical. So in Burundi, we were having the month of May's session at the African Union Peace and Security Council. I was in Burundi, and my mission there was to be able to meet with young people who are doing different things, you know, in terms of employment, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of peace building, to see what they do. And I worked alongside with my peers, the other ambassadors, and the African Union Special Envoy on Youth. So that is our team in terms of work. So in Burundi, speaking to the head of state, so I had the opportunity to be received by the president of Burundi at his palace, and we reflected on issues around how can Burundi take leadership, considering that they have been through war before. And as a Cameroonian, you know, from a country where we have similar challenges, it was also good to learn how they could be able to come out of conflict and stabilize as well. And after that, I met with the First Lady, where we talked about issues of how we could be able to support their country in terms of training young people, creating opportunities for young people. Basically, that was a mission, but it was very interesting, and I should say it's one of my most interesting missions for the year.
Over the years, we have seen you doing so much to transform the minds of the youths, not just in Cameroon, but in Africa at large. What are some of the challenges you've come across to be able to achieve this?
Well, I think that trying to do the work that we do, there's a lot of challenges, but one of the main ones where it starts from is the fact that being a young person wanting to solve a young person's problem, it's very tricky because communities actually do not really see young people as solution providers. They see young people as troublemakers, they see young people as beneficiaries only. They see young people to be only on the fringes of wanting to rush behind the government to get jobs, you know. In the context of Cameroon, we see a lot of young people running behind ENAM, ENS, and all of that. Very few want to create jobs. And that was something that used to happen. But now things are really changing as well. I'm finding it even much more interesting because I'm not doing it alone now. There are many more people. I remember when I started in 2007, I used to be crazy, you know. People will not believe, even your parents would think you are crazy because you don't want to write a concours. But continuously it's changing. We are having young people now who are doing it differently. So I feel that the challenges that we used to face is getting better. There's a whole challenge around resources as well to do the work you do. Because it takes money, it takes time, it takes capacity, it takes knowledge, it takes know-how, which are some of the things that we don't have. And unfortunately, in terms of school training in our context, very few young people really have that skill to autonomize themselves, you know, to get to do it the way. So it's a challenge. Also, between young people, there's sometimes greed, disagreement, and all of that. But I think it's getting better because people are getting to understand that it's supposed to be collaborative to change. It's not just Achaleke. Achaleke is one person, but it's a whole team and a whole group that works to put out what sometimes you see out there. So I mean, I should look at it from that angle.
In your opinion, what are some of the fundamental problems of the youths?
In terms of problems of young people, maybe I should answer this question because it's been 15 years working with young people, and I've worked across 50 countries, and I've met a lot of young people. The problems are almost the same. The problem of a young person in America is almost the same, what we have in Cameroon, and it's around their exclusion. I call it the violence of exclusion. Excluding young people from opportunities, excluding young people from politics, excluding young people from governance, you can name them. It's a big issue because it does not give us the opportunity. We will suffer the most to be able to be part of the solution. You know, in Cameroon, young people make up over 70% of the country's population, meaning that the problems that we face, we suffer it the most. So that exclusion is a big thing, and I see it everywhere. Another challenge that we have is in terms of the skills and capacity for young people to be autonomous. Our educational system has not been able to effectively, do that. And so you see young people with very good degrees. I mean, in my office when we are recruiting here, you see a 3.5 GPA cannot write a good application letter, does not have a good CV. I mean, many more. So I think that's a big issue that we have in terms of capacity, in terms of know-how. I think that we need to work on. I mean, the generic ones, unemployment, poverty, we know these generic ones. But for me, I don't want to talk a lot about the problems because I'm always amazed at how young Cameroonians have been able to grow beyond the problems we have in this country and even across Africa and the world. Young people are making it differently today. And interestingly, we have young people now in the list of billionaires in the world.
Interesting. Let's look at entrepreneurship in Cameroon, to be precise. What is your opinion or what is your appraisal of the entrepreneurship in Cameroon?
In terms of the ecosystem of entrepreneurship in Cameroon, I should say, firstly, there's a big improvement. Many young people becoming job creators. Personally, before, based on my educational background, which was very poor, and the fact that I grew from Fiango Kumba, where you will not believe, I didn't see myself someday to be an entrepreneur until I'm employing people and I have a team that I work with. And today we're talking about 25 people who work. I think that is a good number as well. And we have many more young people today who are becoming job creators, which is a very good thing. So I think that the ecosystem is improving, but it's also faced with the challenge where government is not giving enough support, for this system, which is growing so well. But we have a problem where there is the whole idea of upcoming CEOs. Every young person wants to create, and they are a CEO. I'm an executive director today for an institution which it's 15 years I've been working within to build. And what I learned, that is not just about the title. So we are facing a utopic kind of thinking of young people wanting to be CEO. Is very nice, I appreciate it, but it takes a lot of work to sustain it to an extent where it is even delegitimizing the existing ones that are doing so much work, because they create today, they die tomorrow, create today, they die tomorrow. So it's a big issue that we have in it. And I think it's because some of these young people want to do these things based on emotions, and not reasoning and objectivity. And sometimes they are faced with the challenge of not knowing how to get it done. And that's why for me, I appreciate when you grow from volunteer, intern, because that's how I grew to become what I am today, becoming a diplomat and all of those things. I grew. I never thought of those things happening, but I learned from people and I became better. And today we can be able to manage. So I go back as a recommendation to say for the viewers, as young people, it's not that you should not become your CEO, but that before you get there, you should learn and build your skills so that it should not insult the space for the ones who are wanting to become Mark Zuckerberg someday.
Now, let's go back to your duties as the Youth Ambassador for Peace in Central Africa. Tell me, what are some of the projects you've been able to achieve so far?
To answer your question, I would like to say that my life before that, I had the work which I've been doing, and which I prefer to talk about them, because it concerns Cameroonians the most. I lead an organization which I'm sure you know of, Local Youth Corner, which is national. We have an office in Yaoundé as a head office, Marua, Bamenda, Boyer, and we are working across the country. And just to say some of the things that we do in terms of duties, we design programs to respond to key issues that pushes young people to violence or pulls them. For example, if you look at our prison system in Cameroon, there's this issue of proper rehabilitation, people going to prison, they come out their worst. Since 2016, we started working on an idea called prisonpreneurship. And today we've been able to work in 8 prisons with over 5,000 prisoners, where we set up entrepreneurship training centers within prison. We work with them, and for those who come out of prison, we work with them to set up their business. I mean, this project was what won us the Luxembourg Peace Prize in 2018, and it is because of the fact that for the first time, the world saw Cameroonian prison to be a place where you could transform people. I remember in 2018, I was with Prince Harry, and he was very impressed to see products produced in Cameroon. The same year I was with Akon, and he was very impressed as well that Cameroonian prisons are doing differently. And as we speak today, we have a couple of them who are out of prison. We have Michael, who's in Yaoundé today. He spent 16 years in prison. He was given 135 years in prison. And we trained him for 4 years, and he was released. As we speak, he owns his own shop in Yaoundé and has his apprentices today. So, I mean, those are the things. In the Far North, we have a free school program for children affected by Boko Haram, and we're teaching them 150 kids, We are planning a whole sports jamboree in Douala to help build a good relationship between IDPs and host community members. We see that the IDPs who have come to Douala, people are not feeling very comfortable because, opportunities have reduced. There's high rate of crime and drug and all of that. So we are proposing sports to be able to solve this problem. And I mean, there's a lot that we could name.
I was about to get into that, some of your upcoming projects, because this is yet to be realized.
I think in terms of upcoming project, in the Far North, we are working with the International Organization on Migration, where we are creating enterprises for, we are working on 42 enterprises that we are creating in the Far North in 5 communities for communities that have been affected by Boko Haram and sometimes some former Boko Haram and stuffs. In the Southwest region, to respond to Northwest, Southwest, littoral issues in terms of IDPs, we have the Sport Jamboree, and we call it Nawiwi. And I'm very happy that I'm at Dash, and Dash is also interested to support this process that we are setting up. But it's going to be one of its kind, a football tournament, handball, basketball, and many other things where we want to use sports to bring people together, to dialogue, to understand themselves so that they can be able to live together. That's the idea of what we want to do. And it started in June, actually, through August. Yeah.
And it's going to be the IDPs are going to be...
Yeah. So what we are doing is that we are working with the UNICRI UN office in Italy that works on research around crime and justice related issues. And we are using a tool, Sports for Peace. So in teams we'll have IDPs and normal people in the community to play together. So, and that's why our team is, we play together, we declare together. You get the point. So it's not just going to be a football tournament or handball like what you've seen. It's going to be what you used to see and additional things. We are working with influential young people from celebrities and others to support as coaches for teams, to build self-esteem. I mean, there's a lot more that we are bringing into this process so that it should not just be football or sports that you've been saying. It should not just be the African Nations Cup. It should be a kind of cup or a tournament where would at the end of the day see that people can be able to dialogue and talk to themselves and even hug themselves, something that maybe does not happen every day in their communities.
The objective of this particular project?
Well, the objective, maybe I've said it in other ways, the whole project aims to use sports as a tool to build social cohesion between IDPs from the Northwest and the Southwest and host communities. And by host communities, we are talking about people who were in Douala before they came, and we think that for 3 months and the different sports activities that we want to do, we could be able to achieve this kind of process.
You've been able to receive recognition from international communities. What is your appraisal of that recognition?
Recognitions are very important because it makes you or the group of people you work with know that at least you're doing some good work. Some people, recognitions, they feel too happy and forget to work, and that's it. For me, a recognition is a pat on the back and to say, Christian, you need to work harder. And I think that's why from 2015, each year, it has been one after another, and new ideas, new innovations that get recognitions. Some of them come with very colossal sum of money to support the work that you do. Some of them come with a lot of exposure in terms of putting you in the kind of places where your voice will be heard, people want to know about your work. For example, in 2019, when I was awarded the Black Person of the Year in Spain, I traveled across Spain, went to universities, spoke to young people, talk about my work and everything and all of that and all of that. In 2016, when I was recognized by Her Majesty the Queen of England, Elizabeth of England, it was an opportunity to start serving within the Commonwealth, and that's where I worked, and I used to provide support to Prince Harry and others around peace and security issues. We share ideas with the Commonwealth Secretariat and all of that. And even in Cameroon, for the ones that I've received in Cameroon as well, I see that it has given access to me as a young person, to the group of persons that I represent, to young people, to some of the spaces where their voices will be heard. So I think that awards are good, you know, multiplicity of them is good, but it should not distract you. It should rather give you an opportunity to work even much more better. Like maybe each year, I mean, for the last 3, 4 years or 5 years, I've always been amongst lists of 100 most influential Africans and all of that. But sometimes when you see me on the street, you will not believe that's Christian, yeah? When I'm on the field, when I'm working with prisoners, when I'm working with former terrorists or whatsoever, it's different, you know? It's not for me to feel that I'm, you know, all over the place, but to keep working and to know that it's not me doing it. It's a group of people. It's a team that is getting this work done. It's people like you in the media who talk about our work that raises the bar. So I feel that this recognition is a testament that every person who has a role to play in transforming my life, the life of the community, is playing their role.
Great. So we are about to conclude,
yeah.
But before we do that, I would like to know how you can use your position to influence entrepreneurship in Africa.
In terms of the position to influence, I think maybe let me talk about my fun fact first. I'm a very good cook, yeah? Okay. So apart from all of this work, I cook. I like to dance. You need to see me dancing, and I like to sing. But in terms of influencing, we have a diplomatic side in terms of negotiation. So in my work, I'm a very good negotiator. I get things done a lot. And one of the things that we have been doing, I have been doing, is to be able to give access to young people to opportunities. So since the nature of my job brings me closer to embassies, to ministers, so I serve as a bridge, you know, introducing good ideas, taking them to the forefront. You know, I might sit in a very big meeting, I say, oh, we have this thing which is done, you know, in Cameroon there. So that has been my role, you know, facilitating that. My role has also been to advise, you know, traveling across the world. I've seen a lot, I've understood a lot, and for me who grew up in Fiango, Kumba, difficult and all of that, I understand life in a very different way, you know. To me, humility is part of lifestyle. Because in Kumba, when we're growing up, if you have your phone, you want to brag, they take it from you. You get the point. So you see young people these days want to carry themselves to where they are not, you know. But I learned it in practice. So we share these thoughts. We tell them how to engage. Even for the ones who get international recognitions as well, we always tell them you need to pipe low, learn that there are people, while you are working to have 1 million, there are people who are having 10 million. So you need to humble yourself. So my role is not just to create this opportunity, it's also to inform them and for my life to be something they can learn from, they can copy from. Sometimes they say, Christian, if someone is looking for you, the person don't even know it's you, because you come to somewhere where you are shut shore and you are there and people don't even, you get the point. But these are things that are important, because we've seen the Bill Gates and the others in person acting very humble, you know. Working with princes and the rest, you see them very humble. With Akon and the rest, they are very humble people, but very successful. So I think that my role to the young entrepreneurs is not just opportunity creation, but also inform them, train them, talk to them, mentor them, and give them what it takes to sustain success. Trust me, Nadine, success is one of the biggest things that can destroy you. So, I mean, that could be my last word, because I said it in a way in which those who are watching should take this to understand that it's not just about opening doors for you. If a door is open for you when you are not ready, you know, to stay inside that room, you will get in and you'll be sent out. And that's what has been happening. So our role as well is to ensure that when you get into the room, you stay in there. And that's what happened to me, you know. My early career, being appointed as Cameroon's Youth Ambassador to the Commonwealth, being a young diplomat, you know, since then it keeps getting better. It's no witchcraft, it's no magic. It's understanding how you get to do these things. So, I mean, these are my thoughts which I think I could share.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
But you need to leave some last words before you go.
I would tell our viewers to believe in yourself. I used to be among the last people in class,
Okay.
you know, and I'd been dismissed because I was 5 average. But it didn't scare me. Let your past not scare you, but it should inspire you. Today I'm a lecturer in university, but I'm a third class student. I had scholarship with a third class degree, and I can keep naming them. This is to say that believe in yourself. You know, your past should inspire you than destroy you. And even when your parents feel disappointed because you're trying to become who you want to be, just be consistent. These are my thoughts and my last words for them.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sis.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it from the Central Africa's ambassador, youth ambassador for peace, and there's been a lot to learn on this edition of Managing Africa, but we've come to the end, and we are urging you to continue watching the program because we have more editions coming up subsequently, and you can follow us on Dash TV News on 6 p.m. every Saturday. Thank you very much and have a lovely day.